For decades, hotels held a monopoly on your vacation. If you wanted to travel, you played by their rules and paid their prices. Simple. Then, three guys with an air mattress and a dream disrupted an $800 billion industry. Today, it's not just about a bed. It's about a villa, a kitchen, and a private pool for the price of a standard room. But as hotel chains fight back with loyalty points and hidden Airbnb fees go viral, the lines are blurring. So the real question is the hotel industry actually dying, or did Airbnb start a war that's changing travel forever? But to understand the scale of this shift, we have to look at the world before the disruption. For nearly a century, hotels weren't just one option, they were the only option. They were the gatekeepers of travel, an empire built on a single, unchallenged promise. If you wanted comfort, convenience, and trust, you played by their rules. From the 3 p.m. check-in to the identical beige rooms, the world followed the hotel script without question. It was the default setting for travelers everywhere, and for a very long time, the system looked bulletproof. And let's be honest, hotels earned that crown. As global tourism exploded, the hotel industry became the infrastructure of modern travel. In an era before smartphones or instant reviews, travelers didn't want authentic surprises. They wanted certainty, a clean room, a working shower, a locked door. Whether you were in New York, Tokyo, or Singapore, giants like Marriott and Hilton sold one thing: predictability. And that predictability became incredibly powerful. It became the default setting of human movement. But as the world became more connected, travelers began to outgrow the cookie-cutter box. Suddenly, the standard hotel room felt cramped. The rules felt outdated. Travelers stopped looking for a place to stay and started looking for a place to live. They wanted a kitchen, a neighborhood, a soul. And for the first time in a century, the gatekeepers realized they were no longer the only game in town. And strangely enough, the disruption didn't begin in a luxury boardroom or a high-rise office. It started in a cramped San Francisco apartment with two guys who couldn't even afford their rent. The year was 2007. A massive design conference had flooded the city and every hotel was completely booked. The gatekeepers were full and the prices were astronomical. That's when Joe Gebbia and Brian Chesky had a ridiculous idea. They didn't have a lobby. They didn't have staff. They didn't even have a permit. They just had air mattresses and a vision that shouldn't have worked. They called it Air Bed and Breakfast. At the time, the hotel industry didn't even flinch. To the giants, this wasn't a threat, it was a punchline. Because who in their right mind would pay to sleep on a stranger's floor? But that weekend, 3 strangers did. And in that moment, the $800 billion fortress of the hotel industry developed its first invisible crack. And that invisible crack spread faster than anyone expected, because Airbnb didn't just offer a cheaper bed, it offered a new currency: freedom. Suddenly, travel didn't have to feel like a standardized commodity. You could choose a minimalist studio in Tokyo, a sun-drenched villa in Bali, or a hidden treehouse in the jungle. For the first time, where you slept became as important as where you went. Hotels sold consistency. Airbnb sold possibility. As social media transformed into a global visual catalog, that shift became unstoppable. The modern traveler outgrew the beige box that looked the same in every time zone. They wanted stays that felt unique, photogenic, personal. At the same time, the nature of work itself was changing. Remote work blurred the line between living and traveling. Families and groups began traveling together more often, and trips slowly turned into long-term stays. People didn't just want a lobby anymore, they wanted a kitchen. They didn't want tourist zones, they wanted neighborhoods. Airbnb didn't just compete with the hotel industry, it changed the meaning of travel itself. But revolutions are easy to start. Staying dominant is much harder. Because while Airbnb was reshaping what travelers wanted, the hotel industry wasn't standing still. The giants adapted. They upgraded experiences, launched lifestyle brands, expanded loyalty programs, and suddenly, this wasn't just a startup disrupting an old industry anymore. It became a full-scale battle for the future of travel. So now, the real question is, who actually wins? Let's break it down through the 5 biggest battles shaping the future of travel. Number 1. Experience versus consistency. For a century, the hotel industry won on a single bulletproof promise: predictability. A clean room, a 24/7 front desk, a familiar routine. It was safe, but in a world craving adventure, it became silent. Airbnb didn't just change the room, they changed what people wanted from travel. Suddenly, you weren't just booking a bed, you were booking a narrative. A beachfront villa in Bali, a jungle treehouse, a tiny loft with personality. The stay didn't just support the story, the stay became the story. In 2026, Instagrammable isn't just a buzzword, it's a high-value travel currency. While hotels sell reliability, Airbnb sells identity. And in the war between a standardized room and a lifelong memory, Airbnb wins the first battle. Second, price versus value. In the beginning, Airbnb felt like a travel cheat code. You could split a massive villa with friends, cook your own meals, and stay in prime neighborhoods that were once off limits. Hotels sold rooms. Airbnb sold space. For families and large groups, the value felt unbeatable. But recently, the equation has shifted. Cleaning fees exploded, service charges stacked up. Suddenly, a cheap Airbnb wasn't so cheap once you reached the checkout page. Meanwhile, the giants fought back. Hotels doubled down on loyalty points, free breakfasts, and all-in pricing with zero chore lists attached. For the solo traveler or the business professional, hotels became the simpler, more transparent, and sometimes cheaper option again. It revealed a fundamental truth. Travelers aren't just chasing the lowest price, they're chasing the highest return on their time. And in the battle of the bank account, this category ends in a draw, because the winner depends entirely on how you travel. Next, trust versus freedom. This is where the hotel industry still holds its strongest weapon: reliability. Hotels are built on systems, security teams, 24/7 staff, standardized service. No matter where you are in the world, travelers know what they're walking into. And in an unpredictable world, that consistency creates trust. Airbnb, on the other hand, operates on something far less controlled: people. A great host can create an unforgettable experience, but a bad host can ruin an entire trip. Misleading photos, last-minute cancellations, hidden cameras, unsafe neighborhoods. The very freedom that made Airbnb exciting also introduced uncertainty. And over time, that became one of Airbnb's biggest challenges: scaling trust at a global level. Because unlike hotels, Airbnb doesn't own most of the experience. The hosts do. Still, millions of travelers continue choosing Airbnb because the trade-off feels worth it. More personality, more flexibility, more local experiences. But in the battle between trust and freedom, this category goes to hotels. Because when people travel far from home, reliability still matters. Fourth, the business model war. This is where the battle becomes truly dangerous for the hotel industry. Because hotels and Airbnb scale in completely different ways. Traditional hotels grow by building more hotels, more land, more staff, more maintenance, more operational costs. Expansion is expensive. Airbnb took a completely different approach. Instead of owning properties, Airbnb turned ordinary people into the inventory. Every apartment, villa, spare room, and guest house became part of the platform. Hotels built the infrastructure, Airbnb built the network. And that difference changed everything, because Airbnb could expand into thousands of cities without pouring billions into real estate. The hosts carried the cost. Airbnb collected the platform fee. It was an asset-light platform fighting an asset-heavy empire. And in the internet era, asset-light businesses move incredibly fast. That's why Airbnb scaled globally at a speed traditional hotel chains struggled to match. But there's a trade-off. Hotels control the experience directly. Airbnb depends on millions of independent hosts following the rules, which means faster growth also creates less control. Still, in the battle of business models, Airbnb takes this round because they proved you don't always need to own the empire to dominate the platform controlling it. Finally, the future of travel. This is the category that matters most. Because the real battle was never just about hotels or Airbnb. It was about who gets to define how the world travels next. And the truth is, the lines are already starting to blur. Hotels are becoming more like Airbnb. They're adding lifestyle concepts, apartment-style stays, local experiences, and flexible living spaces designed for longer-term travelers. At the same time, Airbnb is becoming more like a hotel company. It now offers luxury services, verified stays, professional hosts, and standardized experiences designed to reduce uncertainty. Both sides are evolving toward the same destination, because modern travelers no longer separate travel, work, and lifestyle the way previous generations did. Remote work changed movement, social media changed expectations, technology changed trust. The new traveler wants flexibility. They want experiences that feel personal, but systems that still feel reliable. And in the future, the biggest winner may not be the company with the most buildings, but the one that understands human behavior the fastest. Which makes this final category surprisingly difficult to score, because in the battle for the future of travel, both sides are already becoming each other. So, is the hotel industry actually dying? Not quite. Hotels are still incredibly powerful. They dominate business travel, luxury hospitality, large-scale tourism, and something millions of travelers still value deeply: reliability. But Airbnb accomplished something far more important than simply becoming another travel company. It changed the psychology of travel itself. Before Airbnb, most people traveled to visit a destination. After Airbnb, people started traveling to experience a lifestyle, a neighborhood, a culture, a feeling. And once consumer expectations change, entire industries are forced to adapt. That's why this story was never really about hotels versus Airbnb. It was about what happens when a small idea changes what people value. Because in the modern world, the companies that survive aren't always the ones with the biggest buildings. They're the ones that understand human behavior before everyone else does. And whether the future belongs to hotels, Airbnb, or something completely new, one thing is already clear: travel will never look the same again. In the end, the biggest disruptions rarely begin with billion-dollar buildings. Sometimes they begin with a simple idea the world laughs at first. So if you enjoy stories about business battles, disruptive ideas, and the systems shaping our future, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if your journey isn't over yet, click here to watch the next video.
It's best version 2.0, yo. Yo, 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 yo. Yo. Best version. You gonna shine, you gonna fly. Best version. You be the best, you'll be the next. Best version. Keep watching, yo.